So, are you one of those people who like speeding on the highway? Maybe you are one of those people who love weaving in and out of traffic because you're in a hurry to get to your destination. Well, whatever the situation may be, you know that you run the risk of getting a ticket or a citation if you get pulled over. But there are actually some people who are worried or concerned about actually getting arrested if they were to be pulled over by the police. So, is that a real worry or concern that you need to have? Can you get arrested for speeding? I am criminal defense attorney Hannah Akintoye, and let's face it, everybody speeds, especially on the highway. And at some point in time, you may have very well gotten a ticket or a citation from the police. But when it comes to being arrested, the one important thing that you need to know is that if you are arrested for anything, it comes down to whether you are violating a law, specifically a law that is criminal in nature. So let's first get down to the basics. If you're being arrested for anything, that means that you committed a crime. And so the question really is, if you're being arrested for speeding, does it rise to the level of a crime? Now, in most states, if you are speeding, you're just going to get a ticket or you're going to get a citation. But there are also states where, in addition to that ticket or citation, you could be arrested for reckless driving. And in most places, reckless driving is a crime that is punishable by not just a fine, but it can also be punishable by jail time. And so the way that you are driving, if it rises to that level of reckless driving, then yes, you can be arrested. Now, this is something that most people don't really need to worry about because most people, when they are speeding, they're probably going 5, 10, maybe 15 miles per hour over the speed limit. But for those of you who enjoy speeding at much higher rates of speed and you like the windier hair, whatever the situation may be, if you like going at much higher rates of speed, and I'm talking about 20, 30, and even more miles per hour over the speed limit, it's very important that you need to be cautious about what the reckless driving laws in your state are. Now, usually reckless driving requires some type of willful conduct that you just completely disregard the safety of those around you. For example, if you're weaving in and out of traffic and you get so close to a car that they have to essentially spin out of their lane to make sure that they avoid you hitting them, then that could be reckless driving. Or let's say you are in the city and you're frustrated with the traffic or the congestion, and you decide that you want to take your vehicle and ride on the sidewalk. And in addition to that, there are pedestrians who are already walking on the sidewalk. That could be considered reckless driving. Now, in some instances, let's say the way that you're driving doesn't really harm anybody directly, or doesn't seem as though it's going to harm anybody directly, but you're just speeding so fast that there's no way that you would be able to slow down in time if there were an emergency. That could also be considered reckless driving. Now, I know that sometimes people say reckless driving and reckless endangerment interchangeably, but in some places and in some states and jurisdictions, reckless endangerment can be completely different from reckless driving. Now, here where I practice in DC, we only have reckless driving, but there are other places where reckless endangerment, for instance, is a separate crime on its own, separate from reckless driving. So for instance, in Pennsylvania, there is a crime called recklessly endangering another person. And that's essentially a crime where if you do something without regard for the life or the safety of that person, that is a separate crime. And reckless endangerment in so many places can either be a misdemeanor, and depending on how serious or severe the events, it can actually be a felony. And so really, really important to understand that as you are driving, if you are speeding, at least do some due diligence to know what the speed limit is. Because if you are going so far beyond the speed limit, you're bound to eventually get caught, especially if it's something that you do on a daily or regular basis. So I hope that answers the question on whether or not you could be arrested for speeding. And if you have any questions, just feel free to message your questions below, or you can reach me on my website, mydclaw.com, and I'm always happy to chat with you further. As always, stay safe, and I will see you all soon.